Audie Murphy died in a mysterious plane crash that sparked decades of conspiracy theories. Was it really just pilot error, or was there something darker at play? 2 minutes ago, the truth was finally confirmed. Today, we finally have clarity, and the truth is both heartbreaking and eye-opening. This is the full story behind Audie Murphy's tragic end, and the mystery that's no longer a mystery. The war followed him home. After the war, Audie Murphy changed in more ways than one. Something had been etched into his soul by the battlefield. He had what is now recognized as post-traumatic stress disorder, but in those days, it was just called combat fatigue, and not many people knew what it was. A loud noise once caused Murphy to leap out of a window in the middle of the night. He believed he was still being fired upon, and he frequently woke up in cold sweats. During the day, he even carried one in his waistband. He acknowledged experiencing anxiety episodes, abrupt anger, and terrible hallucinations. He once tied himself to a chair during a terrifying episode to prevent himself from snapping at his wife and kids. The man in the garage. Audie Murphy silently battled his demons for 26 years. However, his choice of residence may have been the most unsettling indication of his misery. Murphy lived in the garage even though he had a house and a family. He was unable to sleep with his wife and children inside the house. He claimed that if he experienced a violent episode while sleeping, he didn't want to harm anyone. Broken by war, ignored by government, Murphy gave his youth, his health, and his peace of mind, but the U.S. government mostly disregarded his cries for assistance. In 1955, he testified before Congress, pleading with politicians to take greater action to help mentally sick veterans. The system wasn't prepared to hear his honest and unvarnished views. A quiet collapse. The rifts in Murphy's life had grown by the 1960s. He had lost more than $3 million in gambling debts, and he was secretly attempting to use the rush of danger to fill the void inside of him. According to his friends, he was extremely giving and frequently gave away money that he didn't have. Even though he was barely surviving, he supported other veterans who were having difficulties. He was pursued by the IRS. Creditors did the same. The government looked into him because of back taxes. Claiming mental abuse and emotional instability, his wife filed for divorce and sued him for $10 million. He never defended himself in public. He simply tried to keep everything together in silence. And when he was unable to, he disappeared from view. The crash that ended it all. Audie Murphy boarded a private aircraft in inclement weather on May 28, 1971. It struck Brush Mountain's flank close to Roanoke, Virginia. All on board were instantaneously slain. Murphy was just 45. Arlington National Cemetery, where his burial is currently one of the most visited, second only to President John F. Kennedy's, hosted his funeral. The real question. The manner of Audie Murphy's death is not the mystery. After the war, it is how America's most decorated hero lived with himself. How stillness, memories, and nighttime shadows might break a soldier capable of charging tanks and destroying machine gun nests. Despite killing 241 opposing soldiers, he was unable to end the internal conflict. He couldn't sleep without worry, so he kept a revolver under his pillow every night. He never left the battlefield, but he did survive it. Perhaps the true cost of war is not just the lives sacrificed, but also the souls left haunted. From silence to song, Murphy's musical gift. Dean Martin, Jimmy Dean, and Porter Wagoner all recorded songs written by Audie Murphy. One of his most poetic moments came while listening to the wind howl outside his California home. He softly said, "When the wind blows in Chicago." That simple line turned into a ballad later recorded by Dean Martin and Eddie Arnold. A Beautiful Bride and a Broken Home. Murphy wed rising star Wanda Hendricks in 1949. Young, optimistic, and enthralled with the picture of Murphy she read about in magazines, she was just 21. She was blind to the trauma that was hidden within him, though. Murphy was haunted at home. He experienced frightening mood fluctuations, sleeplessness, and terrible flashbacks. Sometimes, utterly engrossed in wartime memories, he would hold Wanda at gunpoint. She was referred to as his little Hendrix honey by the media. It was a nightmare behind the headlines, though, running for her life. Murphy asked Wanda to leave Hollywood and move to Texas, but things only got worse. One moment he was himself, the next, a stranger filled with rage. Wanda later recalled, "When I turned to kiss him, he was gone." Just 7 months after their wedding, she fled. In April 1950, she filed for divorce, citing mental cruelty. The divorce was finalized a year later. A second marriage, a new storm. Murphy got married again in the same year. He seemed to be able to relate to Pamela Archer, an airline stewardess and former Army nurse. Terry was born in 1952, while Skipper was born in 1954. Life appeared to be better for a moment. Peace, however, did not last long. Pamela developed a strong religious conviction, enforcing rigid moral standards neighborhoods and fostering a judgmental and fearful home environment, exiled in his own home. After their second son was born, Pamela gave Murphy a cold ultimatum: stay married, but live separately. He was still expected to provide and be a father, but emotionally he was cut off. So Murphy moved into the garage. He turned it into a living space and stayed there secretly. People didn't know I was living in the garage, he confessed in 1971. He tried to stay close to his sons, but became a ghost in their lives, a war that never ended. Murphy's emotional pain never left. He was plagued by nightmares and kept a loaded pistol under his pillow, a gift from Gary Cooper, but to Murphy, it was a shield. Fame fades, but pain grows. By 1968, Murphy's movie career was in ruins. Once paid $100,000 per film, he now accepted as little as $20,000. His TV show, Whispering Smith, had flopped in 1961. His final movie, A Time for Dying, didn't even release in the US until 1982, 11 years after his death. Producers took advantage of his desperation. He refused big money from liquor and cigarette companies, saying, "I couldn't do that to the kids." Gambling with everything. Murphy lost more than fame. He lost nearly everything to gambling. Over the years, he blew through an estimated $3 million, more than $20 million today. He bet 5 and 6 figures at a time, chasing the adrenaline that once came from combat. One last investment, one more loss. In 1967, Murphy made a final desperate attempt to fix his finances. He invested $260,000, nearly all he had, into an oil venture in Algeria. But when the Six-Day War broke out, the entire investment vanished overnight. Even his beloved ranch had to be sold. To Bob Hope, still the money didn't last. He spent his days in a hotel basement office making frantic calls, searching for a way to stay afloat. Hounded by the government, the IRS pursued him for unpaid taxes, as if things couldn't get much worse. When he declared bankruptcy in 1968, he acknowledged the full extent of his debt. It was the height of shame. He was now being pursued for every single penny by the same administration that had given him 28 medals. He compared it to dying in a war. The final flight. On May 28, 1971, Murphy boarded a twin-engine Aero Commander 680 Super for a business trip to Virginia. He was accompanied by 5 associates, hoping to secure a deal that could turn his fortunes around. The skies were overcast. No flight plan was filed. The pilot, Herman Lavelle Butler, had 8,000 hours of flight time, but only 6 in that exact type of aircraft. Worse yet, he wasn't instrument-rated. He wasn't trained to fly in poor visibility. Tragedy in the fog. As the plane flew into thick fog over the Blue Ridge Mountains, Butler tried to navigate by sight, something only trained pilots can do in clear skies, but there was no visibility. The mountains were shrouded in clouds. Visibility was just 3 miles. And then it happened. Audie Murphy, the most decorated soldier of World War II, a man who had survived the horrors of combat, was gone at age 45. The crash on Brush Mountain. At exactly 12:08 p.m., the aircraft slammed into Brush Mountain, 2,700 feet above sea level. The impact was catastrophic. Everyone on board was killed instantly. The force of the crash threw Audie Murphy's body uphill from the wreckage. A fire broke out at the site, consuming what was left of the aircraft. Conspiracy theories arise. Conspiracy theories soon gained traction after the crash. Some thought it was sabotage. Others thought Murphy, who had been vocal about veterans' rights and the abuse he had experienced, had been silenced by the government by staging the crash. But when examined closely, these arguments fell apart. The legal battle Pamela, Murphy's widow, filed a lawsuit. She sued 13 people, including Colorado Aviation and the pilot's estate, for $10 million. The court granted the family $2.5 million in damages, or around $14.6 million in today's currency, following a 4-year legal struggle. Court ruling: negligence confirmed. The jury found that Colorado Aviation had been negligent. They allowed an unqualified pilot to operate a complex aircraft in hazardous weather. The trial revealed no evidence of foul play, putting an end to all the conspiracy theories surrounding the crash. A hero remembered. Murphy's grave remains one of the most visited at Arlington. So many people came that cemetery officials had to build a path around the tree shading his headstone. His final marker bears the medals he earned: Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, 2 Silver Stars, and 3 Purple Hearts, a humble legacy. When Arlington offered to enhance his headstone with gold leaf to reflect his extraordinary service, his family declined. Audie Murphy wouldn't have wanted that. He was a soldier first, and he wanted to rest like one. Audie Murphy didn't ask for fame or fortune. He served his country, stood by his fellow veterans, and wanted nothing more than to be remembered as a soldier. If this story moved you, share it, because heroes like Audie Murphy deserve more than medals.